Hey guys, so today we're covering polynomial division without the remainder, and we're going to be using two methods. We're going to be using long division and then the box method, and we're going to compare how they work out. So let's first start off with the long division. So I'm going to write it in standard division setup. We have x minus 3, x cubed minus 4x squared plus 9. Now the way you do this is you work through term by term and you set up multiple subtractions, because that's what long division is, just repeated subtraction until you get to the very end. So let's start off with our first term, x cubed. What do I multiply this expression by to get an x cubed? Well, that would be an x squared. So x squared times this expression will give me x cubed minus 3x squared. Okay, so because we're subtracting, we need to end up changing the signs of these two terms. So if I subtract, I'm going to end up getting a minus x cubed and then a positive 3x squared. Alright, and I just want to make this note that we're always going to be changing signs. So change signs. Okay, great. So, moving on. X cubed minus x cubed, that gives me 0. Negative 4x squared plus 3x squared, that gives me negative x squared. Bring down the 9, I get plus 9. Alright, we're going to repeat this process again, focusing on this. So how do I get an x squared term, a negative x squared term from this? Well, I need to multiply by negative x. Negative x times x minus 3, well, that's negative x squared plus 3x. Again, you want to change signs at this point because we're trying to continue with this top-down motion. So this changes to a positive, this changes to a negative. We're going to combine like terms. Negative x squared plus x squared, that's 0. These can't combine, so you end up with negative 3x plus 9. Last but not least, how do I get a negative 3 from this expression? Well, I need to multiply by negative 3. Negative 3 times x minus 3 is negative 3x plus 9. Again, we're going to do a sign change. This becomes positive, this becomes negative, and we see that everything cancels out. This cancels out and this cancels out, which is great because this is supposed to be a problem without a remainder. Now, when you don't have a remainder, that actually tells you something about what you were dividing by. So, since the remainder is 0, this means that x minus 3 is a factor. And there's always going to be questions asking you to verify if a certain expression is a factor of another. That only happens when you do a polynomial division and you get a remainder of 0. So if you get a remainder of anything that's non-zero, that means that the expression wasn't a factor at all. And that's pretty much it. So let's move on to the box method. So the box method, I'm going to start off first by putting the divisor on the left side, and then I'm going to expand. Let me just make it a bit bigger. Okay, so I'm going to put x here and minus 3 here, right? From this, x here, minus 3 here. And we're just going to build up our final answer based and working through the terms and the exponents. So let's start off with x cubed. So x cubed goes here. Okay, so what times x gives me x cubed? Well, that's x squared. So again, we're asking ourselves the same questions here. So I can now multiply this, x cubed times negative 3, well, that's negative 3x squared. Okay, now if you remember how the box method was used with the multiplication, you would add on the diagonal to get your final answer. So that's what we're kind of doing to like verify that we're going in the right direction. We're trying to add along the diagonal to start building up the inside of our squares and eventually this outer piece. Okay, so if I go back to the original problem, the original expression has negative 4x squared, but I have a negative 3x squared. So what do I need to add to negative 3x squared to get negative 4x squared? Well, that's negative x squared. So if I add this on the diagonal, I get exactly this. Alright, let's go back to this outer part. What times x gives me negative x squared? Well, that's just minus x. And you see that we're building up to the same expression that we got when we used long division. Alright, negative x times negative 3x, well, that's positive 3x. You don't need to put the plus sign, but I'm just putting it there for emphasis. Let's move on to the next diagonal. I actually don't have an x term here. So what does that mean? It means I need to add something to 3x to cancel out to give me 0. Well, what is that going to be? That's going to be minus 3x. So minus 3x plus 3x, that's 0. Okay? So what times x gives me minus 3x? Well, that's just minus 3. And we see that that's exactly what we have. But I'm going to continue on with the box method because let's say we didn't know what the answer was, you don't know where to stop. So let's keep going. So we have minus 3 times minus 3, that's going to be positive 9. Okay, let's continue our box. Now, we're again on the diagonal, and we want to ask ourselves, well, what plus 9 gives me 9, because that's what I have here. Well, that's going to be 0. Then we have x times 0, that's just plus 0, and a 0 here. So this last step is not really necessary, especially when you're just getting zeros here, but it is important to show that when you reach the final term of your expression, you're pretty much done, and there's no remainder, you're pretty much done. So our final answer is going to be x squared minus x minus 3 as our result of our box method. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to make another video very soon using polynomial division both ways with a remainder, and that'll be pretty much it. Alright guys, so have a good day. Leave any questions or comments in the comment section below, like and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye!